Not people open face snoring on the work Zoom call. Fendi, like the bag. This is the I Refuse podcast. Hey, everybody, this is Mr. Fox of the I Refuse podcast. Doing one more episode before the year ends, and I wanted to go over a couple of things. Been quite a few interesting past couple of days. I don't even know where to start. First off, I guess we'll start with the Jay Johnston story. So, if you're not already aware, Jay Johnston is a voice actor that voiced the character Jimmy Pesto Sr. on Bob's Burgers. Now, a lot of y'all know, are aware of the show Bob's Burgers, and a lot of us love it. So, this man gets banned from the network, from the TV show by the network, because he allegedly was part of, well, I'm going to drop alleged because they got photographic evidence, that he was part of the January 6th siege on the Capitol. Y'all remember that one? Oh, yes, it's still very much fallout from that insane day, from not only the everyday person, but celebrities and people in Congress and representatives. Um, White people continue to fumble the bag. Like, Bob's Burgers has been around, been on TV, streaming or whatever, for over 10 seasons. And the thing about Bob's Burgers that you guys are probably not aware is that outside of the main, what was that, 5 characters, um, like they do voice other characters, minor characters on the show. Outside of the 5 of them, though, there really is probably only like 1 or 2 outside voice actors that voice like the main like adversarial characters. I don't even think there's an outside person that does the voice of the main customer that comes to Bob's Burgers. But this guy, this Jay Johnston guy, voices Jimmy Pesto Sr., that is the restaurateur across the street from Bob's Burgers. Like, big character. Like, he essentially, he doesn't drive the show, but the adversary, antagonist, protagonist thing is pretty essential to the show. So for you, sir, to not only for you to be like in several photos, but your dumb tail told other people that you were going there and that you were there. Other voice actors and actresses, and one of whom dimed you out. And here we are, like 12 months, like second season of the pandemic, right? And y'all aren't like exhausted from choosing politics and political pride over getting paid, like, or even any of the nuances between those two things. Now, granted, Fox made the decision immediately. Like, they did this a long time ago to have him removed and banned from the show. It just only recently made news. So, good for them for moving fast. A lot of people think it's a game. And then, on top of that, you have people playing their job, risking their jobs in this whole pandemic. Like, y'all really think y'all are exempt? All of us here in the house, and we got all this time. on our hands to investigate and do the keyboard, like digging around and researching to find out who y'all are. And people move fast. Like, same day, people will post all the details on Twitter, have videographic evidence of white people acting a damn fool. And here you have somebody, he, I guess, is a celebrity. I mean, to an extent, like when I think of like voice actors that are celebrated, I'm thinking more like long running shows like The Simpsons or like Looney Tunes characters or the Animaniacs or, shit like that. Um, like you don't really, at a certain age, you don't really track, who does the voices for whom, unless, they were from like kid shows when you were a kid. So, nevertheless, like, sir, you literally fumbled a whole ass bag. Because Bob's Burgers is on streaming, which means you get coin on top of regular station coin. Like, once you get to streaming and once you get to like, that's like past syndication. Like, a show has an initial run on network television. Then after like 100 episodes, you get syndicate, you get eligible for syndication. But streaming, like, that is going to go on forever. And like I said, we're all in the house. So we ain't doing nothing but looking at streaming. And then on top of that, like, Bob's Burgers has a movie coming out next year. And as popular as Bob's Burgers is, like a whole experience, a whole movement, I'm willing to guarantee that he won't even be in the movie, which is again fucking up future bags, future coins. Like y'all, where does it stop? Do y'all ever get exhausted? Because I know I'm damn near dead looking at this. Like that wasn't even a necessary historical event. There wasn't a purpose or a goal, but to further look a mess and to reiterate why the hell we're like struggling behind other more well advanced countries. And then you want to add the pandemic to it, and then the whole, people won't get the thing, some people will. It's essentially like an IQ test at this point, and a lot of us are failing. Like the extent that people are going to go against facts. So I don't feel sorry to this man for fumbling the bag. When I saw not only the two photos live in action at the siege, like he's in group photos, he's actually there. He looked dramatically different opposed to other photos. But when I saw those photos and then I saw like what he looked like at certain events for the show, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I know it's hard. It's not in good form to stereotype people, but y'all are not making it any easier for us. Like when I saw like the sideburns and the thick little mustache that went across, didn't even go down, didn't even go all the way to the very end of the lips, I was like, oh, this makes a whole lot of sense. Because, they have a particular look. They tend to model their look after the Richard guy. I can't even think of his name. That's probably not even his first name. But the one that was in DC a couple years ago and was talking to a news camera and got snuffed, like on camera. I'll think of his. But I saw that, and then I see the channels on Twitter Spaces, and I see the channels on Clubhouse. They all have a particular look. Shades look a little run down, ball cap, and just look like they're on their way to be anti anything. So I don't feel the least bit sorry for this man. It's just like, you really out here fumbling the bag. Major television, network television, streaming coins. For what? For people that don't give a shit about you. That's that's why I always say, there are other reasons why. I say protecting your mental health is most important. Like, there's no reward or reciprocity when you stick your neck out for people that don't care about your existence and don't care one way or another if you're around. They're not going to, like, all of a sudden mail you a Publishers Clearinghouse check in the mail because you decided you want to take your gumshoe looking ass up the steps and not only defile government buildings, but actually murk up the place with your swamp funk. Like, why even stick your neck out for, like, people that have failed, that are only out for themselves? You know what I mean? So I don't feel the least bit sorry about that voice actor. Moving on to Mr. Sean Carter. Congratulations on getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The same year that LL Cool J goes in. I found that quite interesting. So Mr. Carter decided to come down from his house, his gated house on the hill, to commiserate with us common folk. I believe in Clubhouse, or I believe it was Twitter. It was Alicia Keys' space, to share his opinion, which I believe is unsolicited, that there is nobody out there that can go head to head with him on the Verzuz stage. And I disagree. There may be few, but to say no one, Jay-Z is a special case, and I mean that in the most complimentary way, because, Jay-Z, although he did most of his groundwork as a rapper in the golden age of hip hop, he did not have a solo album until 1996, when things were changing, right? And the landscape in hip hop was changing. A lot of his contemporaries were either lasting only 2 or 3 albums until the early 90s, or were getting killed. That really only left Nas, as far as like consistency, as far as what longevity and hip hop and lyricism and all that other stuff. I personally would not consider Jay-Z the GOAT. Rakim is still alive and well. Although, his Rakim's output is not on the same level. The influence and the impact and what he's done, I will never stop talking about. But within, I guess, the requirements of Verzuz, it's roughly 2 hours. You go track for track against each other. And it's not so much a competition. I mean, it's more a celebration anyway. The only person I can think of is Nas. Other people said Lil Wayne, and I'm like, no. Like, maybe for longevity and consistency's sake, but you want to talk about going from a style of golden age hip hop rapping, storytelling, lyricism, and transcending through some real intellectual, like really expounding and expanding your range as a rapper and an artist is nice. Like, come on. Now, granted, Jay Z may have more hits and more bangers. The trajectory of Jay Z and Nas overlaps quite a few times. And the parallels have been there since day one. You know, for a lot of us that have been longtime fans of both Jay Z and Nas, we can get up on this thing and talk about the last hip hop beef ever, last legitimate hip hop beef. Like, before social media got involved and watered down what it means, and, you know, this crazy shit that's kind of transcended into these days where people are getting stabbed backstage at festivals and dying and shit in the street. Like, that was the last hip hop beef that stayed. First of all, it was entertaining and it was good. And it got a conversation going again about how powerful and how impactful hip hop and rap music is. And it's not about industry, it's not, you know, a label paying one artist to make a diss record against a bigger artist instead of releasing their album. Remy Ma and Nicki Minaj. And for a couple of months back in 2001, 2002, they were going back and forth, and we had even talked about this on the podcast about looking back who actually won. I said Nas won, because he dug deep. Because one thing I know is that we get a lot of intel. You know, me and Nas are the same sound. We have a lot of intel and we know a lot of secrets that you're not really about the life that you rap about, and you essentially model your persona on the mic off of me. You know what I mean? And Jay-Z really, his responses were more generalized, and they squashed it. Nobody got killed, nobody in the posse got killed, and all that other stuff, and they walked away unscathed. Now, unfortunately, although Nas's track record is a little sketchy, after it was written, it gets a little sketchy, which is more of an advantage to Jay-Z. It's clear that at some point in Jay-Z's career, I think right around Kingdom Come, it became very clear that it was more about being commercial and being more capitalistic and not about the music. The album started to be less cohesive. There were a lot more misses on the album. And it became more about features. Like, it was very feature heavy. Save for the Rock La Familia album, which, I mean, that's fine. But Jay-Z had me up until about the Blueprint 2. Kingdom Come, I essentially skipped. He got me again with Blueprint 3. The Magna Carta, I pretty much skipped. There's probably 2 or 3 songs on there that I can bang to. But he was becoming more materialistic and more commercial in his raps. And, I get it. Once your environment changes, your life changes, and therefore your lyrics change. And your lyrics are a reflection of your current state. But, I think the last 10 or 15 years, he's been better at being a business person. Like 444, although not his strongest, it's not my favorite. Um, but it's hard to like think of other options, you know what I mean, as far as competition for Jay-Z on the stage outside of Nas, because that really leaves like either LL Cool J, who pretty much commercialized hip hop and made it so big, but started big like 10 years earlier than Jay Z. Or it's like rappers that have come out since his debut, since Jay Z's debut, which that will be a total mismatch. It's kind of like how people thought Beyonce and Mariah Carey should do a versus, and I'm like, two different eras, two different styles, and that's unfair. Um, but that was interesting of him to say. He probably was still on a high from being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Um, how we got in there at the same time as LL Cool J was beyond me. Honestly, I think LL Cool J should have been in there 10 years ago, but that's another conversation. Um, but yeah, like on that note though, it's funny to me that we haven't really been discussing Nas enough. I mean, he released two back-to-back bangers, King's Disease and King's Disease Part 2. And there's like little to no discussion about it. And he's doing it on his own label, Mass Appeal, to which Dave East is also signed to. No discussion. Um, I believe I did a review of the album. I love both of those albums. I would say the latter half of Nas's catalog is probably my favorite. Starting with Streets Disciple, um, Hip Hop is Dead. What else is in there? Life is Good. Life is Good is actually one of my favorite albums. Um, like we don't discuss like the latter half of Nas's career. Like the first half, amazing. From Illmatic to Stillmatic, I really could get into it. Um, but what makes Nas so great beyond what's painfully obvious is that you can argue that he is the worst beat picker, but you can't say that he's not diverse. You know what I mean? Like, no two albums sound the same. Each album is different, and what can you say? You know what I mean? Like he's still doing it. I'm surprised he didn't get an unplugged. I know Jay Z got one. Give or take, it was okay. Uh, but for those of us that are still into music, rap, and hip hop, I want to say Jay Z left a long time ago. Sure, he's impactful as a businessman. I mean, the model upon which he came into the game and how he's moving these days is admirable. But let's not act like he didn't slouch since the Blueprint, um, lyrically and artistically and musically. Um, save for Watch the Throne, and I get like the at some point people kind of try to cross over to appeal to white audiences, but a lot of them don't have the taste or the respect for what we do. Um, so it's that's the only choice, really. Um, I know there's still talk of a Lil Kim versus Foxy Brown. A lot of people been dogging the hell out of Foxy Brown, um, to the point of not even valuing her contribution and why she's more qualified than Nicki Minaj. Um, I think the Verzuz would be a good opportunity to remind people why Foxy Brown is relevant and why she is legitimate, and to remind people that she too has catalog of hits and bops and deep cuts. A lot of songs that a lot of people forgot. It doesn't matter whether she wrote her own rhymes or not. It doesn't matter that she is allegedly deaf in one ear. It doesn't matter that she has allegedly a temper issue. The girl can go. Um, implore a lot of you to look into Foxy Brown's freestyles. Yes, back when people were freestyling in public on TV. No reverb, no backtrack, just the mic and the beat. It'll be great to see Lil Kim and Foxy Brown do it. Squash that tired ass beef and get on with life. Now that's a versus battle I would watch. Um, what else is there? So I think I may have to sit down for this one. The Summer Walker London on the Track thing, trilogy, whatever you want to call it, it's a damn near miniseries at this point. And this is more on what he's doing behind the scenes. This is not in any way a representation of her. Still Over It is banging. And given the piece of information I was given the past couple of days, it is all coming together for me. Okay, so I know on here on the channel earlier in an earlier episode that I had said something to the effect of, anytime that she speaks up, London on the Tracks, one of the London on the Tracks baby's moms, maintains a consistent response situation to Summer Walker's claims on IG, which I believe them to be true. At any point when Summer Walker says something, she'll be, this baby mom's is the first one to talk. And we said that it was believed that he was paying her to do that. And either with money or gifts or whatever. And that on top of that, Summer knew what it was, because the moment he would stop doing that, she too would say stuff against London on the Track. Which is the inspiration for the opener on Still Over It. Bitter. Right. So we've been listening to the album. I've been listening, I think the first 2 days of its release, I listened to the album like 8 times. And I'm still listening to it. But I'm going to make a concerted effort while I'm on holiday break next week to blast that motherfucking album. So a couple days ago, I caught when on Twitter somebody happened to share like 4 or 5 snaps, screenshots of some of Summer Walker's posts, I believe on IG and Twitter. Again, Aaron London on the track out and his baby's mom's, which at this point is justified. I was like, let me share this with one of my good girlfriends. So she responds with some juice. Allegedly. So why does London on the Track have dysfunctional relationships with women? Why does he equate materialism with support? Why is he a clout chaser allegedly? Why does he moves the way that he does. Why doesn't he have a good relationship with his mother? What did what does Summer Walker mean in Fourth Baby Mama in the opening track about, I'm sure whooped your ass. She don't care because of the way that you live. Money, cars, clothes, hoes. Why does she enable the mess? Because it's good for her. Well, here's where the dots connect. Surviving R. Kelly, there is probably one or two mentions of a woman, and I believe she's in the documentary, of a woman that allegedly either recruited or made it possible for R. Kelly to secure victims, allegedly. That woman is allegedly London on the Track's mom. Oh, it gets better. Well, it gets worse. So allegedly, London on the Track when he was younger was one of R. Kelly's victims, allegedly. I don't make the news, I report it. Don't shoot the messenger. When she told me that over the phone, my mouth was on the ground. I said, bitch, you are lying to me. Yes. The Pied Piper really, allegedly. And that's why that man is jacked up now. London on the Track allegedly is jacked up now. We out here sacrificing our kids for coin and clout. And we enable the nonsense because we can't deal with the guilt. And we don't want to take accountability. This is why you guys probably wonder why, people are so calm in situations like this. Summer just be over there minding her business, just like I be minding my business, because we know the real deal. We know the truth. And we know why, the one in the middle, the main player, is the way that he is. Like, leave us alone. She's very well aware of the players and how they move and why they move. And she knows the story. Never once did she expose that man. She's classy. Classy, classy, classy. And we have got to do better. It's probably not going to get any better for her as far as her London and on the track are concerned. But I get why she's like, I'm not leaving my child with you or without you telling me what's going on or where you're going or who she's around. Hollywood. Industry. A very crazy place. So this is the I Refuse podcast. Cautionary tale for women and children and men out here, like, please be careful with who you pick or who you lay with. And a little tidbit: the guy that Summer is with now is not a new guy. They go back years. Matter of fact, most of that her debut album, Over It, is inspired by Larry. First, I was like, why did she go out and get this man's name tattooed in her face? And I joked about it. Got her face out here looking like a Chipotle bag. But I get it, and I wish the best for her. And I respect her even more for putting all of this into the art. Like, it's been a long while in R&B that we've had a confessions type album. I think the last one was Lemonade. Which, by the way, I think most of the cheating happened during her 4 era, because you ain't see Jay-Z around a whole lot. Anyway, this is the I Refuse podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe, and have a happy new year and a Merry Christmas. Keep y'all asses inside, and stay warm and drink in the privacy of your own home. I will catch you guys later. Bye.